Welcome. Thank you for joining us today. We have the pleasure of Janet Damon, librarian and parenting blogger, who's joined us today to bring us a very special story time. And Janet, I'm going to let you take it away and
Thank
take it
you.
away.
Good morning. And I just want to welcome everyone to Storytime today. And so glad that you chose to join us this morning. My name is Janet Damon. I am a librarian, but also a blogger for culturally responsive festivals and events for families. I'm excited to be here today for a couple of reasons. One is that I have on my Disrupt Injustice t-shirt because a group of dynamic students in my community at Dr. Martin Luther King Early College, under the leadership of Kimberly Grayson, has been advocating in our community for students to have access to lots of different history and culture and in our schools. And so that made me think about the things that bring me so much joy. And so this morning, I'm going to focus on some books that really reaffirm that joy. And so one of the ones that I thought about yesterday while I was at this amazing event is called Woke Baby. And Woke Baby is a story about just a little tiny one waking up by Mahogany Brown and illustrated by Theodore Taylor III. And I thought of this book yesterday because during the press conference, I looked over and someone was holding their beautiful little baby in their arms. And I thought about all the work that these students are doing. It is for babies like this to be able to reach for justice and freedom. And so this is a beautiful story to read aloud. And it brings in just how even our youngest little ones can benefit when we have a culture and a society that is striving for justice. So this is one of the books that came to my mind. Another book that came to my mind when I looked out there is Bedtime Bonnet. Bedtime Bonnet by Nancy Red and Nika Myers is about hair, our hair and our hair routines. And in this story, the little girl and her family are getting ready for bedtime. And when they start, I'm going to start on this side. When they start to get ready for bedtime, all of the family members have a little bit different bedtime routine. And so I love this book and I love pictures like this because it shows how beautiful our families are in all the different colors, even when we look at our mocha brown and our beautiful honey brown and our colors that come in our families. And so this one makes me think of my family because this one looks a lot like my dad. My dad is bald. And so I love this book, and it's called Bedtime Bonnet. And there's a mystery in that story too. The other book I wanted to share is called Layla's Happiness. This book is so beautiful, and it's about a little girl named Layla, and she is finding her happiness and her joy. And so I'm going to show you just a couple of ways that Layla finds her happiness. And one of them is when she's climbing trees. And I love this story because it brings me joy to see her climbing trees because I love nature, and being in nature brings me so much joy. And so I know that when we have our own ways of connecting with our joy, we can find our happiness. And that's really important right now. It's important to find our happiness. So the books that I chose, and I'm going to read my Storytime book, The Roots of Rap. But one is I really want to have happiness for our children, and I want them to have justice in the world. And so that's why I Woke Baby. I really want to have students and children who find their joy and happiness and know how to connect with it, whether it's in nature or doing all the things we think are fun and help us to be happy. And the other strength is finding our joy in our family. And so that gives me so much happiness and strength. So the book I'm going to read this morning also talks about another place where we can hit and find joy, just grabbing that happiness for ourselves. And this one is called The Roots of Rap, 16 Bars and the 4 Pillars of Hip Hop. And this is by one of my favorite authors, Carol Boston Weatherford, and the art is by Frank Morrison. And this is going to be read this morning with permission from the publisher, Simon & Schuster. And so I'm going to start just with letting you see some of the gorgeous pictures. And this is an artist called Swiss Beats. And he wrote a little intro to this book and says that I encountered hip hop when I was growing up in the Bronx. This style of music gave me energy and freedom. It helped me to focus on what I wanted to do with my life. I started DJing as a teenager, and thanks to support from my family, my friends, my career in music took off thereafter. And so let's get into our story. Folk tales, street rhymes, spirituals, rooted in spoken word. Props to poets Hughes and Dunbar, published Ain't You Heard? And I see in our young people, they're looking toward their ancestors who came before them, using the same music and language. Soul man James Brown, I'm Black and I'm proud, giving birth to funk, bass line pulsing loud. I love this picture. I think about his creativity, his hair. The origins go way back beyond old school, but it is in the 70s that rappers start to rule. And this makes me think of when I was young and I was born in the 70s and how there were a lot of things happening in the world. Crews with cans of paint spray tags on subway trains. Writers from every borough take risks to make a name. And again, looking at the creativity, the art that people are putting up in their communities. Graffiti is thrown on buildings, bridges, and billboard signs all along the Manhattan, Queens, Bronx, and Brooklyn lines. And then you see that in the neighborhood, they're standing and seeing this art that's surrounding them, that has meaning and telling stories. A boombox trotting, homie blast, a hot track on a corner. Passers-by, 4 deep squad, a street performer. Surround a street performer. I love seeing everyone coming around and being together. And right now, we don't always get a chance to see artists performing like this on the streets. But at the same time, music is something that we can all enjoy and take strength in. With sheets of cardboard for a stage, b-boys burst out moves. Donkey, spider, robot, windmill, rock, lock, spin to breakdance grooves. I hope that all of you have seen breakdancing before because it's incredible to watch. It's an art form. Jamaican DJs shouting toasts invent what's now called dub, remixed with twin turntables at soul and reggae clubs. You see that he is doing DJing. DJ Cool, they're in the Bronx, Black Party under his command. Rock and rock nonstop, mic clutched in his hand. This reminds me of this summer, the Caribbean Festival had a live DJ and everyone was socially distanced, but still dancing, still feeling connected. Dropping, scratching, beat juggling, matching wax on wheels of steel, wordplay, rhyming, triple timing, keeping the lyrics real. Just show you this artwork and how I think there's a shine on it. Incredible. Sugar Hill Gang, Run DMC, LL Cool J, Curtis Blow, Biggie and the Fat Boys jamming on the radio. And when I was young, we used to know all the lyrics and we used to sing along in these songs. Nas, Ice Cube, Dr. Dre, Eminem, 50 Cent, Tupac 2, Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five, the message ringing true. Female MCs break it down, Salt and Pepper and TLC. Queen Latifah sports a crown, reigning like royalty. And these were some of the most wonderful role models with their earrings and their style and their unique flair. All around her kingdom, shorties raised on rap, boogie to fat beats and backward baseball caps. Again, Queen Latifah, an icon and a role model for her strength and her versatility. She could sing and rap, and she's an actress. A generation voicing stories, hopes, and fears. Founds a hip hop nation. Say holler if you hear. And I love seeing all the hairstyles and the expression in both the style in our clothes and our hair, that we can all be unique and individual and share our gifts. From Atlanta to Zanzibar, you spit freestyle freedom sounds. Hip hop is a language that's spoken the whole world round. I'm gonna come this way so you can see some of the. And all around the world, there's so many people who use hip hop as a way to also tell their stories and talk about what's happening in their communities. What I also love about this book is at the very back, you have an author's note that tells you about what inspired Miss Weatherford to create this book. And she talks about using voices and to tell your story. And one of the other things that's really nice about this book is that it has a little glossary to tell you what all the words and all of the different terms mean. And this is important because language and the things that we say and the words that we use, they keep changing and growing. So one of the words that's here is using the word boogie. Boogie is to dance. But now when you think about how to also use other words like spit, to say rap and perform rap lyrics, or toast. This is to say a story spoken aloud about a character and a person. That's also like what they used to do in Africa, is saying poetry. So it says that this is a form of African American folk poetry that goes all the way back to Africa. And it also has a timeline and a who's who. So if you wanted to see who all of the artists that they're mentioning are, you can look in the back of the book and find out more about these artists. And so I wanted to just celebrate the roots of rap and how this creativity started lots of different kinds of ways that we can be creative, whether we're telling a poem or a rap or a story, whether we are talking about our families and funny stories that happen with our families, or if we're talking about things that might be happening in our community that we want to change. Rap is a way to do that, and hip hop is a way that African Americans have done this for a long time. So I'm curious to hear, are you also thinking about ways to use music, or maybe your family, or are you finding happiness all over our city? And so if you have a little one in your life, reading is a great way also to make sure that we are enjoying the things that make us so happy. I also want to shout out that if you're looking for something fun to do that kind of connects to the roots of rap, they are having a Cold Crush Walls Festival in Denver. And so you can go and look around our city to find ways that folks have used artwork to tell a story. So if you're driving around, you might see some graffiti on the walls, and now folks in our city are just using this artwork to tell a story and to celebrate different people and just culture. And so that's something that you can do to also connect your book to what's happening in the weekend. Thank you so much for putting that into the chat. So I just want to invite you to keep reading and enjoying books and stories and connecting to culture in ways that bring us all together and help us to see um, that we are all so, so, so alike and that we have so much in common.
Thank you, Janet, and thank you to the Boulder Library Foundation for making this story time possible. And we hope everyone keeps reading and joins us again for our story times at 10 a.m. every weekday morning. Thank you and goodbye.